Back to that breaking news now. Just into our newsroom, day 2 of races in the Stotesbury Cup Regatta are now canceled. CBS News Philadelphia reporter Ross DiMattei along Kelly Drive live for us this morning. Ross, you have been following this step by step. Those officials there just made that decision. So what's the deal out there this morning?
Well, Jan, this is not the news that we were hoping to report on this morning. We were hoping to show you some high-end rowing competition from some of the best young rowers in the country, but unfortunately, river conditions are not going to allow that. We did just get official word that there will be no racing action today as part of the Stotesbury Cup Regatta. Let's get right to the official who had to make the unfortunate announcement, and that is Mike Murphy, chief of the Stotesbury Regatta. So I know this isn't what you wanted to have to announce, but explain to our viewers what goes into a decision like this.
Yeah, it is very regrettable, but we are safety first, especially in my capacity. And we had a good group of coaches committee that we basically met with and came to the decision that it's unrowable. We don't, like I said, safety first. There's
science that goes into this, right? You gave me an actual figure that is kind of the point where you can no longer be out there racing according to the Schuylkill Navy, right?
Yeah, there is a rule that we can kind of massage, but the number is 1,800 CFS. We're currently, I believe, at 18.5, so rowing it's just not possible.
And safety is, of course, top of mind always for you guys.
Very much so, yes, indeed.
Well, I was just by the banks of the river, and I mean, you can see it. The levels are very high, and the current is really strong. Mike, I appreciate you weighing in here. Let me bring in Bonnie Mueller. And it's ironic, Bonnie, because we look around and it's beautiful weather out this morning. But again, reinforce that it's just not safe out on the river, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, it is unbelievable for most people to look up at the skies and see an absolutely perfect day for a celebration and a festival like this. But the reality is the Schuylkill does what the Schuylkill does. And unfortunately, yesterday's rains dumped enough volume into the river that it's just unrowable. And we had 100% consensus on that. But it's worth looking into what's going on with stormwater flow and the rivers around the region.
You're not wrong. That's an even bigger story that we can absolutely explore. Talk to me about logistics, because this is not the first time that this has happened at the Stotesbury. So what happens now going forward in terms of determining winners and how the rest of the day plays out?
Yeah, well, we have a process for that. So everyone who raced knew that yesterday's results could, in fact, determine who the champions were. So we will have a very different kind of awards ceremony. We're very lucky to have one of our great U.S. Olympic champions here who from our partners with Toyota, who will be able to give out the medals and celebrate those who won yesterday in the preliminary races, which they knew could determine the outcome of the winners. So we do have a process around that, but we have, again, just an incredible festival on a perfect sky, but not a perfect river.
And yeah, the sky is actually making it more heartbreaking to announce this news. I know that. So we feel for you, and thank you for taking a couple moments.
Thanks so much.
Okay, let me bring in John Fife, the head coach at St. Joe's Prep High School. You're feeling the heartbreak right now. I can see it on your face. What do you tell your athletes in a moment like this who train and prepare for this big competition all year?
Yeah, the first thing is this was the right call. I've been on this river since 1995, and this was the right call. It's unsafe to be out there. We knew going into this weekend that this was a possibility, so we prepared to do our best yesterday in the time trials. Unfortunately, we did do well, but our guys won the opportunity to race side by side. But this is part of life. Youth athletics is about teaching kids about how to deal with adversity, and this is an opportunity for them to learn. So
it is a real-world learning experience for sure. Will you have some winners taking the podium given yesterday's results in the time trials?
We will. We were fortunate enough to win all 4 of the boys' 8s again, and we medaled in all 4 of the boys' 4s.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations, and thank you for taking a couple minutes this morning. Appreciate it. So obviously you guys can sense that there's a bit of a somber tone right now, but there will be a small celebration for the winners based on yesterday's time trials. But again, just to reiterate the big breaking news at this hour, there will be no racing this today for day 2 as part of the 98th Stotesbury Cup Regatta presented by Toyota. I'll send it back to you in the studio, Jan.
Such a disappointment for all those racers. We know they work hard all year, but congrats to St. Joe's Prep for an outstanding performance yesterday that now carries over to today. Day 2 of the Stotesbury Cup Regatta is now canceled. CBS CBS News Philadelphia reporter Ross DiMattei is live along Kelly Drive near the river to show us why and explain this difficult decision. But Ross, safety first as always. Good morning.
Of course, safety first, top of mind. Good morning to you, Jan. And this is such a bummer. Our hearts break for the thousands of high school rowers who are going to miss out on day 2 of this tremendous competition. But it's really ironic when you step out and you see how beautiful a morning it is. But trust me, we've been close along the banks of the Schuylkill looking at the river conditions themselves. And you can see just how high the level is and how fast moving the flow is. But don't take my word for it. We have an official here who can actually talk a lot more in depth about this. So let's bring in Margaret Meggs, Director of Public Engagement for the Schuylkill Navy of Philadelphia. I know this was a difficult decision, but we were just talking with some of the other officials. This was unanimous across the board. There was no one who was saying, I think we can pull this off. Explain to our viewers what went into this decision.
Sure. So, as you all know, it rained. It's spring in Philadelphia. We had tremendous amounts of rain. The tributaries into the Schuylkill River have dumped a lot of water. The river is flowing high, and it's flowing very, very fast. And that is the safety issue. The flow is not safe for any watercraft to be on that river today. And the officials had to make the very heartbreaking call to call off racing for today. Awards will be given based on teams' performance in yesterday's time trials. So there will be Stotesbury champions crowned today. There just will not be further racing today as planned.
And I can hear the heartbreak in your voice and so much sadness. It's a somber tone here for the course of the morning. But like you mentioned, I'm going to focus on the good. You are going to crown some champions today. This is not the first time you've dealt with this as part of the Stotesbury Cup Regatta. Tell our viewers about how, you guys prepare for this. And as much as you don't want this to happen, this is something that has to happen because we're talking about amateurs, kids, high school kids who are going to be out here, and it's just simply not safe.
Exactly. The safety of the athletes is the absolutely primary thing that we focus on, and contingency plans are always made for weather. We talk about this all through the year as we plan. I mean, it's a subtext. Safety is incredibly important. So, it's with very heavy hearts and feeling for all these athletes, their coaches, their families, the spectators who are deprived of the second day of racing. But this is what has to happen when we get these kind of conditions. Beautiful day, water is not cooperating with us.
It's borderline treacherous out there. And, I feel for folks like you as well, because I know this is your livelihood and you put so many hours into this. So hang in there. We're still going to try and make a celebration out of it today. And thank you for the time this morning.
Thank you so much, Ross. Thanks so much for covering this. We really, really appreciate your interest, of course.
Absolutely. This is a timeless classic here in Philadelphia, and it will continue on. We'll have better years to come.
Absolutely. We're still looking forward to our 100th anniversary of the Stotesbury in 2 years, and, this is all good.
That'll be a big one. Mother Nature better cooperate for that one.
Yes.
All right, guys. So, again, no race action today for day 2 of the 98th running of the Stotesbury Cup Regatta presented by Toyota. Hopefully better conditions next year, but there will be some champions crowned here today. Jan, I'll send it back to you.
And Ross, that really is a real-world learning experience that you go hard in time trials because you could have a weather factor in on day 2.
So well said. And we were just talking with John Fife, the head coach at St. Joe's Prep High School, and he basically said the same thing. Really, high school sports boils down to preparing young kids for adversity. This is example 1A. Things get canceled. There's things you can't control, so that's why you go as hard as you possibly can for those time trials, because that's now going to determine who goes home a Stotesbury Cup champion. Yeah, and congrats to St. Joe's Prep. We hear they've done very well in the first day, Ross. Thanks so much. Appreciate your report.